Awesome. So welcome to your last class for the month. So let's sit straight on our mats, keep the back and neck straight, and very gently close our eyes. And bring your mind to the breathing. Slowly begin to deepen your breathing. Just make sure that your posture remains stable. Relax your mind with each passing exhalation. We are going to begin to add retention to our practice. So after your inhalation, hold your breathing in for about 2 seconds and then go for the process of exhalation. We'll be chanting Om 3 times, followed by 3 Shantis. Inhale deeply for Om. 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 Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Observe the vibrations. Join your palms together and rub your palms together. Keep your palms on the eyes. Very slowly, while blinking and looking at your palms, begin to open up your eyes, start coming back with a smile. And namaste to everyone. Let us begin with our session today. So yesterday we were talking about the obstacles on the path of yoga, and today we are going to complete all the obstacles. So yesterday I told you guys there are 9 obstacles, right? And we had covered the first 3. So let's move to the 4th one. So the fourth one is called Pramad, Pramad, which is also your negligence. Right, when we start, practicing something initially, we are very enthusiastic, we follow through, right? And eventually we become what? Negligent, right? So this is one barrier that you guys will also face a lot. So first few barriers are more likely to take place for a beginner than an advanced level practitioner. So advanced level practitioner will attain the stability of the body, will achieve the stability of the mind. So first to get eliminated for them, right? But beginners, they tend to generally struggle with the first few, and then you will advanced level also struggle with their forms of obstacles, right? So somebody who is a practitioner doesn't mean they are free from the obstacles, right? Their obstacles just change according to their level. So sorry, I didn't know it got cut off. Okay, so I was talking about negligence, right? So it's very common when we start something new, it grabs a lot of our attention, time, and energy, right? But as the processes begin to become more mechanical, we start to become more negligent. You are not doing it with the same enthusiasm, right? Or maybe when you are practicing, so you become a little bit negligent, so you maybe twist a little bit extra and then you cause injury, right? So the negligence that comes, and negligence in its actual form, when it comes in, it means you keep procrastinating, so maybe out of so many days, one day you didn't feel like practicing, no? Or after the classes, maybe one day you don't feel like practicing. So one day you are consistently thinking, I will do this and then this, right? So you keep procrastinating. Then I will get up, then I will first do this, and then I will do my practice. Right? So you are thinking about it in the mind and you're consistently like thinking when you will do that thing, but you never really get up to do that thing, right? So it is this procrastinating mind which basically postpones the action, right? It doesn't allow the action to take place, and sometimes it will so happen that one day you will skip your practice. Okay, so then the guilt of that one will be so heavy, right? That next day you are thinking about it, right? Why did I miss that one day, right? And then the entire week passes by with you, feeling so guilty and consistently having that negative talk with yourself, right? So one day you skipped, it's okay, right? But remaining 6 days you procrastinate and you think about that thing, right? It will cause you not to follow up on your practices. Again, it stops you. Guilt is a very, um, good tool created by the mind to stop you from doing your actions, right? You will see whenever you start feeling guilty, you stop doing the things, right? You continuously feel guilty, right? So the mind knows how to, tap, right? And how it can trick you to not perform the action, right? So I'm telling you guys today itself, nobody is fooling you in your life. Your mind is fooling, right? Nobody is fooling you. Your mind fools you in so many ways, right? And the sooner you recognize what ways it adopts to fool you, the sooner you will be able to jump out of them. So if you're feeling guilty, okay, give it 1 hour. 1 hour, I will feel totally guilty and embarrassed. And after that 1 hour, break out of that. All right. So it's okay if you don't want to, if you want the emotion to be, right? But place a timeline on it, right? Because it's stopping you. It's stopping you from doing your practices. Okay. So the next time you get in this kind of mindset, just recognize as soon as possible and try to move away. Okay. And try to start practicing. If you're feeling guilty, right? But in the evening, you find a little bit will to go and go to your mat, right? And you just practice 3 rounds of sun salutation, right? You will feel so much better. Why? Because the action breaks this cycle of guilt, right? So it's okay to feel guilty right now. I understand it's a very natural kind of emotion, but as soon as you do the action, you will see it runs away. Means it is generated by the mind again and again to stop you from your action. Only 3 rounds of sun salutation, right? It's going to take it all away. Means the mind is burdening you so that you don't take the action, right? So you have to be very careful of these obstacles. They show up in very different kind of ways and in different forms, right? And in different scenarios, right? So you have to be aware, right? All the time that, okay, now next time you feel guilty, I just say, oh, you are an obstacle. Okay. So I will give you this much time and then I will begin my practice again, right? Okay. So next obstacle is your um, very common again for us. This is very, very common. It's called alasya or laziness. ALASYA. So this alasya or laziness, this has to do more with your body, bodily laziness, right? Of course, both of them are interconnected. If the mind is being lazy, the body will become lazy, or if the body is being lazy, the mind will become dull, right? So they use each other. No, which one? If there are two siblings, one goes and does something which is naughty, right? And then the other one also follows. No, so in that same way, either you will feel the laziness on your body and your mind will follow, become lazy, or you will feel laziness in the mind and your body will follow, the body will become lazy, right? But when we talk of alasya, we are talking mostly about the bodily lazy, the laziness you experience on a bodily level, right? So some days, you will just not feel like waking up, right? You will be like, let me sleep for 10 more minutes. Let me put that alarm on snooze, right? Or maybe, you have to practice, right? In the evening, right? But you are being very lazy, right? Okay, let me just do this first, or maybe let me just do that thing and then I will go and practice, right? So what your body is constantly doing, it's putting you in that laziness mode, right? And this bodily laziness has only increased, as the time has progressed. This bodily laziness has only increased in our times. Why? Because technology, it's doing a lot of things for us, right? And we don't need to run around to make our living, right? Especially with COVID coming in, everything turned digital, right? So a lot of people who are sitting at home, working from home, they are very lazy, right? A lot of my friends, they are working like in their bed, right? They're sitting in their bed in the blanket because winters have come, right? And then they're working on their laptop. So this laziness, there is it captures us very easily, right? And all the things are so easily available. If you live in a city, everything, if you just order online, you'll get it. You don't have to step out of your house anymore, right? So this laziness is constantly reinforced by the kind of environment also we are living in. So it's not completely your fault. Okay, all the system and the functioning, it's going on in this way that even our mind has gotten more of that training, right? That we can be lazy. It's okay. But if you go to very small places or villages, you will see they have to work every day. So they will wake up at 5, 4 in the morning, right? They have to do the agricultural activities. They take care of a lot of animals. So they wake up, right? They take care of the cows, the all the other animals that are present in the house, right? So their routine, no matter what weather, what disease comes in, their routine remains the same, right? So it's just the kind of training you give to your mind, regardless, they are going to wake up and do their things. And same goes, if you have ever had a pet, you will know what kind of dependency the pet has on you. If you don't feed them, they will not get food. No, they will come and wake you up, they will come and trouble you, right? So you have to constantly take care, right? So you have to be active. So it's this entire, it's just the difference in the training that has been given. Both the things are possible, right? And the sooner you create the inertia to get out of this bodily laziness, the better it is, right? Same thing, if you only do three sun salutations, no, three sun salutations, you will also come out of this bodily laziness, right? That is when you recognize it's just building up to stop you from your practice, right? Maybe a change in weather or any change in circumstance when it doesn't, you don't feel like moving your body, it is a hindrance, right? It is going to stop your practice. So guys, after these classes especially, these all these obstacles are going to come running in, right? So you have to be very careful. Okay, that is why I'm telling you about these things, because these are going to be the first ones to attack you, right? They're going to take you in their control, right? So you have to work on developing your own schedule and routine, whatever suits you the best. You have to take some time and you have to develop a routine for yourself, right? That is going to be the best way to tackle this thing, right? Once you have a routine, like right now you have the classes going on, so there is a routine that is set at this time, this teacher will come, this subject you will learn, right? So like this right now, from our side the schedule is set and you guys are just following it. Now you have to work on creating your own schedule which is practical for you, right? So all of you know your circumstances best, right? So you have to work on developing something which is practical for you. Don't go for an unreasonable kind of schedule, no. Don't go for like, okay, I will practice for 8 hours in a day, no. Okay, as much as you can incorporate, all right, as much as is realistic for you, you know you have to create that kind of schedule. It's going to help you to stick to your practice. Okay, as monotonous and mechanical these schedules sound, they actually help us. Okay, so that is why setting your space, getting the clothes like I told you in pranayam class, right, all of these things are going to help you actually. It gives triggers to the mind, right? Now you have to do this thing, right? So next one, so you see, as the obstacles progress, they become more like advanced, right? So the sixth one is your attachment to the sense object. So it's called avirati. Okay? Avirati. Avirati. All right. So suppose you conquered all of the first five. Okay. You're not being lazy. Your mind, it's not dull. you're perfectly healthy, fine, everything is set, all right? Then this one rushes in, all right? So your attachment to the sense object. So that day, when we were talking about the yamas, I told you guys, how I'm attached to my t-shirts, no? So this attachment, it goes away really, really later, right? This attachment doesn't go away that easily, right? So suppose someday you have set your schedule, all right, and one day there is some party or a gathering of your friends that is taking place, right? So now it's exactly clashing with your practice time, all right? So sometimes what we do, most of the times what we do, we skip the practice and we go and join the event, right? So we don't change the schedule according to that day, right? We skip the practice and then we go and join the friends, right? So it's okay to participate in all the social events, and it's actually good and healthy. You should be socially interact, right? But then again, it's this attachment to the sense objects which will eventually make you believe that it's okay to leave the practice, all right? So either modify your schedule on such days, right? Or you can skip those events if you anyway don't like them. Some people don't like going to social events, they just go because they are supposed to out of a sense of responsibility, right? So you know which category you are in, but you need to modify for those days, right? It is the sense objects which will have a grip on you. Suppose you, after taking all of your therapy classes, you decide, okay, I'm going to change my diet, all right? And then you work on changing your diet, you develop a habit, and then suddenly, something you really love, your kryptonite, right? In food we have our own weak spots, no? So for me it's sweets. Okay, if somebody is giving sweets, if sweets are served, then I cannot control. Okay, all other things I'm fine. But if I don't have, if somebody is like giving sweets, I will be there, right? So that one thing will, pull you back, right? It will make you break your entire, the kind of diet that you have set for yourself, right? So in these little ways, the sense objects, they have their own, shine, right? And we are like small kids, no? We love running after toffees, right? So these are like small toffees, these sense objects, right? If you like looking at something, maybe flowers or maybe some movie, right? So you easily be captured by them, right? It will easily give you a way out of the practices that you are doing, right? It will give you a good enough reason to break your routine. It will seem very valid. I have been a part of this. Okay, so I'm telling you guys, right? I'm still trying to work on this. But these little things, they capture us and they take us back. They pull us back to our old routines and habits. So you have to understand that these are barriers. Okay. The sooner you recognize again, the earlier you will be able to come out of them. And this will only come with time. So first few times, now earlier maybe you didn't recognize, after these classes maybe you recognized a little bit, right? So next time if something will come in front of you, you will be aware and still you will consume, right? So at least the development of sense of awareness came. That is a big achievement, then slowly one time maybe you will skip out of 8 9 times when you're put in that same circumstance. Maybe one time you will start skipping, all right? So very slow progress is made in these things. Also, don't go for extremes, right? But see the change in these little things that you are doing, right? Earlier you would maybe given every time. Now, one time you have developed it. It's a very big progress. We don't generally account for these little things, but they are these little things will one day become big things. Okay. So you don't have to get discouraged that, oh, I learned about this, and I'm not able to fully implement it. No. As long as you are able to make the tiny little changes, right? And hold on to those changes. These same changes are going to become very big one without you realizing. Okay, so just continue and try to incorporate as much as possible for you, right? So let's come to our next obstacle. So seventh obstacle, right? Three are left. Okay, so next one is your Bhranti Darshan. Bhranti. Darshan. Darshan. Bhranti Darshan or false perception. Okay, so now this is very commonly seen, no? So when you guys also started your meditation, but this comes more for an advanced level practitioner. Okay, so now when you started your meditation, or maybe when you started your yoga classes, you had something in your mind. Especially this happens when meditation is talked of. So whenever we introduce some technique of meditation, so students have these doubts. Will I see that light? Or will I hear that divine sound? Right? And people come with these preconceived notions attached to certain practices, right? And this is what causes false perception. Now the more you want to see that light, suppose you're sitting and meditating and you somehow just believe that you are going to see a particular light, or in some cases people believe some god will come and present themselves, right? So the people who have these notions in their mind, so when they are sitting and they are meditating, they're not with the object, right? They are consistently focused on what this thing should happen. Why is my meditation not leading me to this thing, right? Or why is this thing not happening, right? And then suddenly one day, you know, suddenly one day they, have this kind of hallucination, right? Where they see the light or they see the God, right? And that day after meditation, they are very happy. They are like, today my meditation, it became successful. This is what I was looking for, right? And this is simply the way of the mind to stop you. So if you believe that seeing something or seeing a particular light, that means that you have perfected your meditation. So your mind is very intelligent, right? It knows that if it will hallucinate in that way, or if it will give you a glimpse of that thing, you will stop meditating, right? So you will see a lot of people who say that God himself, he came and he, presented himself, or maybe we saw that divine light. Next day, they are not meditating. No, next day, they have left their meditation, right? Why? Because whatever they were looking for, they found it, right? So now, what is the point of doing meditation, right? So they miss the main point. They miss the point of keeping the practice regular and not attaching anything to the practice, just being with the object, constantly trying to be with the object no matter what comes and goes. Because when you do meditation, you're not looking for happiness, right? When you do meditation, you're definitely not looking for sorrow, right? You are looking to rise above these dualities, right? These are dualities. It's of the same coin. All right. So if you are looking for happiness, sadness will also follow you. If you are looking for sadness, happiness will also follow you. You won't be able to be free. Some people like being sad, right? So happiness also follows them, right? But when you come into you are looking to rise above these dualities, right? So be very careful, because when you become an advanced level practitioner, this thing is going to come and it is going to create that barrier for you, and it is very gripping, right? Like psychic powers, they are very gripping, right? They engulf you, right? We want those things, we want to do those things, do all those magical things, but that's not the point, right? These things I told you when I was telling you about the Yoga Sutras also, that this will become a barrier. No, you have to be very, very careful. Your eye should be set on your goal. Okay. And your goal is what? You have to be free from all the sufferings, not just one or two. No, all of them. Aim higher because you can be free, right? So then another obstacle that comes for an advanced level student. So this is quite a long one. Alabd Bhumi Katva. Okay. ALABDHA. Okay. BHUMIKATVA. This is again for an advanced level student. So when the student has been practicing for a very long time, then they have this, notion that they are going to achieve the state of samadhi. Okay. And sometimes that does not happen. All right. So now there are a lot of reasons for this thing not to happen. All right. Uh, if you look into the yogic philosophy, there are some past things which stop us from attaining certain stages in our practice. Okay. So now for this, you will have to believe in past lives, future lives, So not everybody believes in those things, but yes, it is something it is connected to some previous thing that is actually stopping you from achieving a higher level. It does happen. Okay. And when you have been practicing for such a long time and you have dedicated so many years, then this comes as a very big disappointment, right? Now you have put in years and years of practice, right? And still you are unable to move forward in your journey, right? So, the advanced level practitioners, they need something stronger to get them out of their path, right? Like for us, we are stuck in day to day little things, right? So any little thing will, deviate us from our path, right? But a practitioner who has, set their mind to devote their lives to these practices, for them, it's very hard to, get them out of the practices. So, obstacles also, their level keeps upgrading, right? So now the obstacle has come in that, like your dedication, your practice is 100%, right? But still you are not able to progress, right? And this acts as a very big source of discouragement, right? So for us, if you give 1 or 2 years and we find any discouragement, we will completely leave the practice. But for that practitioner also, when years of practice doesn't lead them to move ahead in their journey, they get the practice. Okay, guys. So this is for your future, right? When you become advanced level practitioners, right? Then don't allow this discouragement to sway you from your path. Okay. You have to again, trust and believe that the process is going to do its work. Right? You have to continue your practice so that you can eventually come out of this stage also, right? So you will be able to reach the point of attaining the eighth limb samadhi, right? Reaching the absorption state also. But it might take longer period of time, right? So you have to be very patient on this path. Okay, everything is not in your control, right? Sometimes some things they are going to try to stop you more than others, right? So this is for your future self. Be aware. Okay, if you are not seeing progress, consult your teacher, right? Ask them if you are not doing something correctly. If you are doing everything correctly, then it only means that with time you are going to clear all of these things off and you will progress in your practice. Okay, so don't get discouraged. And then last one is I'll give you the Sanskrit name. I'll give you the Sanskrit name. Okay, wait, let me just one time check the spelling also for you guys. So Sanskrit one, let me just check the spelling once, then I'll confirm. So last one is your instability in the state of samadhi. I'll give you the Sanskrit name, even though I've written it, I'm just looking for the correct spelling. Here. Oh. This is the correct spelling. ANAVSTHITVA. Anavasthatva. Okay, so instability and samadhi. So second spelling is correct. Okay, so now sometimes it happens that the advanced level practitioner reaches the stage of samadhi but is unable to maintain that stage. Okay, so again, this is higher level of obstacle, right? Now you have attained the stage of samadhi, but it can happen that you are unable to maintain that stage. And I told you, with concentration, you reach naturally the state of meditation. And as you prolong meditation, you naturally reach the stage of absorption. But this stage of absorption also has to be prolonged, right? To reach the final step, right? So now you are not able to prolong it, right? Again, because of some past accumulations which are stopping you, right? From, moving ahead in your journey. So again, this can be a great point of discouragement, especially if you see other people, like sometimes we see other people, they progress very easily, right? So now you have given so many years and still you are not able to progress, right? So it becomes such a big source of discouragement, right? So again, guys, when this state comes up, then you have to prepare yourselves mentally, right? You have to prepare your faith. The faith should be very deep, right? That you continue your practices, and with time, even this is going to go away, and you will be able to prolong your state of being absorbed in the object. All right. So, any doubts so far? All right. Okay. So there is a way out of these obstacles. Okay, so let me just cover those quickly so that you have a little bit idea, right? So they are called Chitta Prasadhan. Chitta, Chitta Prasadhan. Prasadhan. Chitta Prasadhan. Okay. So Chit Prasadan actually tells you how to deal. Okay. Chit Prasadan is about the development of the mental attitude, right? And this helps you in general also. Like you will come across four types of situations or people in your life. Okay. So those four kinds of people, I will write down the type and the solution. Okay. So when you meet somebody who is um, okay, so when you encounter a situation which is very positive, or you meet somebody who is really, really positive, right? So you develop an attitude of friendliness towards them, right? Okay, so um, this mental attitude is developed towards people who are positive or happy. Okay, so you will find some people, that you put them in the category of positive vibes, right? This person has a lot of positive vibes, right? So you want to be more around them, you enjoy their company and you enjoy their outlook towards life, right? So like how you vibe with certain people, right? So when you find these types of people, you should create a friendly attitude. Why? Because this is going to change your environment. The people in our lives, they are a very good reflection of who we are, right? Have you ever noticed, next time when you look at your friends, at all the people around you, notice this thing. They are only a reflection. They are reflecting a part of you. That is why you were like you became friends, right? You were vibing so good with them, right? So this thing, when this thing happens, so you have to, in order to make your environment much more, peaceful and calm. People who are positive, it's always good to have them around you, right? So you develop an attitude of friendliness towards them, right? Then you will find some people who are suffering, no? So when you find a situation or a person who is suffering, right? Then you develop compassion towards them, right? suffering or going through something. Now you have come in the study of yoga. Everybody is suffering. Maybe on social media, it will show that they are very happy, they are enjoying their life, right? But internally, everybody is suffering in one form or the other. Nobody is free of their mind. And the mind, because it is given no training, it generally only criticizes, right? So nobody is free from this suffering of the, most people are not even free from the suffering of the body, right? Suffering of the body, suffering of the mind. So coming into yoga, you realize there is suffering all around, right? And when you see somebody suffer, when you see somebody not understand that there is a way to cope up with this and a positive way, right? There is a way to come out of the suffering. But you guys know now, right? Because you have done yoga, right? So you understand the deeper meaning, right? But maybe the other person isn't exposed to this or does not understand this thing, right? So what do? You don't go blame them. You show compassion. They are also suffering. And you will see people who, they want a lot of love and a lot of attention. They're going to come and ask for it in the most, unacceptable ways, right? So you understand the deeper meaning. When I was teaching Bhakti Yoga, also, I told you this, everybody is looking for love only, right? They can have a good way of asking for it or a very toxic kind of way, right? But now you guys can see, all the people around you, they are suffering. So you approach them with a sense of compassion, right? Rather than counteracting them or arguing, you show compassion towards them because you develop compassion as you go into the practices of yoga. This will only come naturally to you, so wait for it until it comes, okay? But this compassion is eventually going to come in, and that is the right attitude of dealing with somebody who is suffering, right? Then we come to there's this third type of situation of people you will come around. Mm, virtuous. You will meet people who are very virtuous, and towards them you should show joy. So this category of people, they can come in any form, all right? But generally speaking, our parents or our mentors, people we really look up to for advice or for guidance, those people will generally consider to be very virtuous, because they are helping us with no expectation, right? So we are, or with no kind of return, right? So, however, they can come in any form, right? So you don't have to necessarily have mentors or any kind of like this kind of relation to actually have somebody virtuous around you. Maybe just somebody who is doing something good for you overall, right? With no expectations. So that person accounts for a virtuous kind of person, right? And with them you should interact with a lot of joy, right? You shouldn't be like, no, I don't deserve this, don't do this thing for me. No, accept you deserve things, right? And interact with them with joy, right? Accept the things and be with them in a very happy and joyful state, right? Because that is also a part of living, no? Right? You have to enjoy also, no? You cannot always be serious and all those things. You have to enjoy also. So show an attitude of joy towards virtuous people in your life, right? And the last category, and you will come across this category also, okay? Okay, so non-virtuous type of people, who would not want your good or bad. They will, they will not want to be neutral or want your good, right? They will want your bad. Okay, they will want that you get hurt. Okay, and no matter who we are or where we exist, we encounter such kinds of people. Like always in your life, you will come across some people who just genuinely want to hurt you. Right now, I'm not saying those are bad people. Maybe all of us have different sides, okay? They might have other sides also, but towards you, they are very hurtful. No, they want to intentionally, come and hurt you, right? And it's very important to develop an attitude of indifference towards such people. All right, so don't be compassionate. All right, be indifferent. Now, indifference doesn't mean that in your mind you are thinking and you are just like very, you're holding a grudge against them, and overall you are being very cold. No, not showing them your emotions. No, indifference doesn't mean that internally you're feeling something, but externally you are showing that you are very cold or you don't care. No, it's the internal peace that matters the most, right? So become detached from such people. Try to uh, step out of that kind of environment, where the indifference naturally develops. Okay, this is another person who exists. All right, you will have to come to the neutral level, because your own irritation or anger towards them, it's only going to hurt you. It's not going to hurt them, right? So you have to be very careful and mindful. But even such people are going to step into your life, who are genuinely, who will have this target and aim to genuinely harm you. Okay, so you have to eventually work on developing an indifference towards them, right? And the indifference comes in the mind and the emotion. At action wise, all of that will be controlled on its own, right? But your mental peace should not be, right? When you interact, even if you have to, when you interact with such people, right, you become a little bit detached or eventually develop that indifference towards them. Okay, so with this we end your course, right, for philosophy. So guys, any doubts from you? No doubts? All right. So what you can do is we have one more class, 3 to 4. Okay. So until then, if you have any doubts related to any part of your course, you can make those notes, right? And you can, when you join the pranayam class, you can come and ask those doubts, or else you can also drop your doubts over an email, right? So any which way, if you have any doubts, you guys can clear them. All right, all of your teachers are available, and it's just when you come up with the doubts, you can always drop us an email, even if it happens in sometime in the future. All right, so let us end our class today. All right, so keep your back and neck straight. Gently close your eyes and inhale deeply for Om. Om. Shanti. 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 Join your palms together and gently bow down, feeling a sense of gratitude towards everything we have. Rub your palms together. Keep your palms on your eyes. Very slowly, while blinking and looking at your palms, begin to open up your eyes, start coming back with a big smile. And namaste to everyone. So, guys, your task for today is prepare your schedule for your upcoming days. Right, today you have all of your last classes mostly. So, start preparing a schedule already for the upcoming days. Right. So, I will see you all for your pranayam class. Take care, guys, and enjoy. Bye bye. Thank you so much. Take care. You too take care. Bye bye.